Happy Friday, everybody. How we all doing tonight? Or today, or this morning, no matter where you are around the world. Bitcoin never sleeps. Crypto never rests. 24/7, 365. What's up, guys? Hey, Kevin, Ty, Jeremy, Cornholio, Ryan. Hello, Jane. Behind the hype, Russ Brown music. S Swartz 88. Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, or good morning. Happy Friday to you all. I guess we can all agree on that. Guys, my name is Big Chonis. Remember, you guys can find me on Twitter. I am at Big Chonis. These are all my best ideas. I take technical analysis very serious. I'm a crypto trader, a mentor, a chart psychologist, an investor, a photographer, and a chef. Please do your own research. I am not a professional financial advisor. I want to briefly mention my mentoring. I'm taking on new students through the month of August. This was a great week. I had some great discussions with some new friends of mine, and I have a few more open spots for next week. And then after that, I'll be scheduling the third week of August. And I look forward to hopefully taking on some more students in the near future. And if you guys have any questions about that, please feel free to send me a Twitter DM, or you can email me bigchonis@gmail.com. I want to start with this tweet I put out several days ago, basically asking the question: if you are holding alts, plan to add to your current alt position or buy on these dips and chart setups on as we go in through August into September, what would the valuation of that alt be like if Bitcoin was sub 5,000 or if Ethereum was sub 150? Even if your chart of alt was bullishly diverging from Bitcoin, what actually the valuation be? And if Bitcoin is $1,000 less than it is now, or $2,000 less than it is now, or Ethereum is a couple $100 less than it currently is now, your altcoin, no matter what it is going to be worth that much less as well. Now, obviously, there'll be probably some diamonds in the roughs as we continue to unwind our Bitcoin from our parabolic move, unwind our Ethereum from our parabolic move, unwind our Litecoin from our parabolic move, and countless others. We're seeing a similar trend where the market is finding that there's better valuations at lower prices. That's pretty much what keeps driving us down here. So let's just talk about, we're just going to focus on Bitcoin tonight. And maybe a couple more, but I really just want to focus on what's going on here because we have a couple things happening right now. So it's Friday. We have 2 more days left in the week. So let's start with our weekly chart. Okay, let's take a very, a broader picture here, a 50,000 foot picture. Start with the weekly, and we're going to kind of zoom in and see what we want to find. Actually, why not? Start with the monthly. Let's get crazy, Friday night crazy. Okay, all right. So listen, this is back to 2014. Okay, we have several years of price history. We have Bitcoin slowly moving back up after its little parabolic move. It's funny, the 2014 move. Oh, it's Coinbase. Hold on, let's get a little better here. There we go. This is our this is our 2014 parabolic move. Okay, and then actually back here was our 2013 parabolic move. Actually, yes, there was a 2013 parabolic move, and we had our 2.5 years of correction from where we basically topped out to where we were able to come back and retest that roughly $1,000 range, and then with literally in 1 year, we went from $1,000 to $20,000. Now look at this monthly candle here. I mean, can you have you ever seen a more defined, insane shooting star? And you have this kind of a backup here with a double shooting star tweezer top. We have our third month after our parabolic top off as some sort of a hanging man here, which clearly played out bearish, which clearly played out the next month, when we had a upper wick, bearish, very red candle. We had a reprieve. This was April. This was our short squeeze, little bounce here, where we failed to get back up to the previous month's highs, or at least where we started to. Our next month again had a smaller wick, but still a wick compared to this, and a tighter range. We actually had a bottom, so we actually were able to find lower support here and come up a little bit here. But June was just another terrible month there, where we gave a lot of that back, and we basically broke down from our bullish move in April and put in some newer lows here. Last month, July, as we all remember, was a very nice month. Okay, we had a bullish engulfing monthly candle, but we didn't close that great. We actually closed very weak, and we had this clear upper wick here, which is not as big as the body, but definitely is noticeable. And what's really nasty about what's going on right now in August, remember we're only about 10 days in, we're only a third of the way into the month. We currently have a bearish engulfing candle already on the monthly chart here. So this is not starting out bullish at all and very bearish. So let's start to add some indicators here and kind of see more than just the price action, what the chart is actually telling us. So we're going to start with our RSI. Again, this is our monthly RSI. This goes way back, okay? So let's start mapping out areas of support that had been previous support areas in the monthly RSI's history. So right here, we see that the 52 range at this moment here was a little resistance. We broke through it, we back tested it as support, and we had our nice bullish move there. We're currently under it, and we did test a little support kind of near it, close enough, if you will, right? But the fact that we're currently under it, that's bad, especially if we close under it, because then this makes this area here on our RSI monthly really high time frame here, okay, a resistance area. Now, how low can we go? Well, how long have we been? This is as low as we've been. We've been to 44 on a monthly RSI. Now, I always say when we're above 50, okay, which we currently are on the monthly, then we have some bullish tendencies in the market. The problem with that is that we have to go all the way out to this time frame to get a sense of where there's a little bit of bullishness left. Because if we go to the weekly, we clearly see that we're already under the 50. And that actually the 50 acted as very strong resistance. And right here, we got really rejected right where the price hit $8,500, okay, which was also a historic resistance point that clearly held. Now we wanted to hold here, and we did actually for a couple days. This area here around 44, but right now we're breaking through and we're finding support at this next area right here at 42, which was support here, okay? And if that breaks, our next area is clearly at 41. And then after that, you see what could potentially happen. So this is this midterm area of support here, which corresponds to this area of price support back in the RSI. Clearly it was resistance before it was able to be broken through, back tested, which we always like to back test areas that were once support or once resistance to confirm that they're actually really strong. The fact that we held here on our third level down of support and then just shot up here was great. Okay, so this is a very important area, which means if we fail to hold, if we fail to hold this area here, come on, get back there. Thank you. Here, this is our kind of short-term, near-term support. And what price would that represent? Tough to say, but it's clearly lower than I would believe 5,700. So this would probably represent putting in a new low this year, 2018, if not retesting our $5,700 area on the weekly chart here. But for now, there is history here of support right around this range here, and that's kind of why we're holding out here right now. This was a pretty steep drop quickly, and because this support is here, corresponding with this area of history as well, kind of these two areas, I expect this range to hold at least for some time. But again, this could put us several $100s down more in Bitcoin before we actually touch this area here. Let's go in more. Okay, let's go to our daily. Now, we got as low as almost 30. And then our little bit of a bullish pop yesterday brought us higher, which is kind of bearish because what it actually did was it reset the daily RSI back from 30 to 38, okay, without really getting us a decent bounce in the price. And now we find ourselves back to 32 with a lower price. So we have a slightly higher RSI with a slightly lower price point, which means I almost feel like this gave the RSI more room to fall than any kind of bullish divergence that this might potentially be showing here. I still see this as kind of a bearish scene here, where now that we've actually able to get a little higher with a lower price, it could actually allow us to fall farther. Now, what's our next area of support? And that basically is 26 here. We hit it in February to as low as 25. Remember, our daily RSI has always bounced when it's broken 30. It bounced here with a V bottom. It bounced here with a V bottom. It hit a little crack here, a little crack here, a little crack here. But still, our last two times we have come into our 30 area on our daily RSI. We've had V bottoms. Okay. Now here, V bottom, here V bottom, V bottom, V bottom, double bottom, kind of a little right here. That's a little scary. So you kind of came up and then we retested a support and came up again. So history says that if we get back down, especially to 24, 25, 26, okay, we should find some sort of a bounce. The problem is this time is that we're very bearish right now. Bitcoin's very bearish right now because the daily is getting lower, but not in an oversold condition. We could go farther down. We've gotten very little help from our 4-hour RSI that has just been stagnated in this cluster here, okay? Sometimes a certain time frame indicators, they just don't give you anything. And that's fine. You just move on. You move on to a higher time frame that tells you a little better story of what potentially is happening. The 4-hour just shows me it's bearish because we're under 50, and also it's just not getting any momentum. And every time it does get momentum, okay, profits are being taken with flippers. So any bounce that can come through, profits are continuing to be taken, and that's fine because that's what you want to see if you're a day trader. But from a long-term perspective, the 4-hour isn't showing us that there's any change in the current bearishness of the price here. I want to talk about our stochastic here on our daily because this is kind of fascinating to me. So we did have a little. It's kind of weird. We had a little pop in the RSI. What the stochastic is showing us here is that in relation to the two indicators we use are bleeding and our trailing. So even though this is showing a little bullish pop at a lower price point, that just has to do with how the RSI itself, oops, not the price, the RSI itself was able to come up a little bit here, and now is slowly showing a little bit of a higher low. Otherwise, our stochastic is still very dead and very weak. And even if we come up a little bit here and turn over, which it kind of feels like our blue line is kind of doing here, right? So there's still very weakness in here. We have lots of weakness still in our MACD. Remember, we just crossed negative here, okay? You can see how low we can really get on our weekly chart, okay? We see how high we can get, okay? We can literally do the same thing on the low end here. More or less. Nothing that crazy, but just shows how high we actually got here. We just started here and we got bearishly rejected here, right? It's like a hockey puck skimming off the side of the wall and continuing its bearish momentum. We had a chance, right? We had a chance to break bullish. We had a chance to have a bull crossover here, and it just failed through. Now we're still going bearish here. So we're not seeing anything there. So let's focus now on some MAs and some Bollinger Bands. I want to start with our BBs first, and we'll go to our MAs next. So this is our weekly, okay? Now, our BBs are important, very important in higher time frames. But what we're seeing here is when we were very tight in our Bollingers, okay, where we got very large and very large and very large, and then crazy big, and then on a high time frame like the weekly to be this far out of our upper Bollinger. This is extreme overbought conditions, and the price reacted as such. Then, when the price came into our upper BB, it used the upper BB as resistance, rejected here and rejected here. So then we've confirmed our upper BB is very strong resistance. What's our next line of support? Well, it's got to be our middle BB, our mean between the two sides here. So our very first touch was very nice bounce, right? Boom. But we touched it again and then we failed it. Now, when we fail a major support zone, right, we always look for a back test. And sure enough, we had a back test, a couple bull traps here, a couple wicks that broke through it, right, but couldn't close. And then this was actually an official bear trap here where we closed above, but literally very quickly the next week we fell through, and this has set the tone as our middle BB, very, very strong resistance, very strong resistance. Okay, so now we touch our lower BB, or we don't even touch it. We get darn close, right? Darn close, but we kind of use its magnetic repellence to push the price a little out here. Okay, our very first touch of our middle BB was rejected. There's a wick on this candle here. We can kind of see it. Actually, here. Why am I hollow? That's better. There we go. We can see it there. Okay, we broke it bullish. Great, but same deal as last time, right? 1 week we were out, next week came right through, and now our middle BB is very strong resistance. So where's our support? Well, our lower BB right now is at 53.35, okay? As we fall, this will actually fall lower. This one will actually go higher, and our middle BB will actually fall a little lower. So a bearish support right now is somewhere around $5,300 if we were to take a real tank in the price of Bitcoin. We're getting tighter here compared to this, but we're still extremely wide compared to this. Let's go to our daily chart. Now we can see we've been riding down our lower BB as they've been expanding. You see we kind of got a little tighter here, induced a move. We see how we've been, every time we break at the top, okay, we can ride it up here nice and good. Once we came in, we retested our middle BB, support, rejection. We've been riding our lower BB. When we broke through it, this was a violent move here. We weren't that wide now. Now we're getting pretty wide. That's why it's holding the price. But now we see how low we are now on our support, all the way down on our daily. We've actually broken 6,000 for the first time since the end of July, actually, when we actually broke. Now, remember, the BBs use price action and they use volatility and in a time frame to create what happens here. So a big move spreads them out. Tighter moves or tighter price action brings them back together, signaling the next move is basically going to happen. So these are pretty wide here on the daily. Bearishness can still bring us down here, okay? But we got to come back in before we get some more crazy price action, I feel. Some sideways price consolidation heading into the weekend, is definitely a possibility. It's a pretty vicious move here. Let's go into our 4 hour. Now, with our Bollingers, I really don't like to go any closer than the 4 hour. Other than that, you get a little kind of thrown off about how tight things can really be. You clearly see how we were finding support on our very first break of our lower BB. It didn't close. It broke through it, right? But it closed above. It closed inside. But now we're actually under it now. So we're breaking again. We're losing our support on our lower BB, showing continued bearishness in the price. So keep an eye on those. Remember, these are good indicators for moves outside of the standard deviation. It can be shown very clearly here in our monthly chart, just as how high above our BB we actually got. This is insanely high, insanely outside of the move of standard deviation because of how high we are here. And you see, look at that. We've yet to test our middle BB. I expect support here at $5,800 or so. Okay, I would expect some support when we literally, if we literally touch this on the nose. So let's kind of take rid of our BBs. And let's bring in some indicators here. We're kind of just flood it with our EMAs and our MAs, and we're going to see where our resistance lines, where our support lines are, where potential bear crosses are going to happen. So you see how our fan out happened when our price went parabolic. Okay, we're still yet to have a major cross on the ones that I like to use, which is our EMA 12, our EMA 55, our EMA 26, and then our MA 200, our MA 100, our 7, our 30, and our 50. We go to a weekly chart though. Zoom out a little bit here. Okay, so what do we have here? We have our 30 bearishly crossing into our 50. Okay, and we see how the price has responded to that particular bearish cross. If this candle were green, then our 30 would have potentially skimmed off the 50, potentially, but because it was red and pretty vicious there, it just took it down. So this added some fuel, added some nitrous in the engine, turbo, if you will, to kind of propel this because of this bear crossover of our MAs. We still have a cluster of other ones happening here. Looks like a 26 is a 12 over a 55, but they've been kind of dancing back and forth. MA 100 support 4,900, MA 200, 2,600 and rising. These are rising, even though Bitcoin's falling. We're still rising here because we're on the weekly. Let's go to our daily chart. Okay, now these are all lines of resistance. They were very helpful here as support. A couple of them were actually very helpful along the way, but once we started falling through, all these bear crossovers just kind of played out and played out and played out. Resistance right now is being held by our 7. Okay, this is basically our 7-day average price movements. Very short time frame, but that's very weak if we can't even get over the 7, right? I want to at least test our 55 on the daily. That's still over 7,000, but falling fast. This red 200 MA, check this out. Major support all the way through our parabolic move. The first break was a shocker. We came back up, back tested it, broke it. Here's actually our back test. So this was our double tested support. We broke it. Here's our back test right here. Resistance, we didn't even touch it. Again, didn't even touch it. Again, didn't even touch it. Again, didn't even touch it. But it keeps falling. So here, when we were at 8,500, it was at 8,600. Now it's at 8,100. So it's dropped $600 in the past 2 weeks. And this will continue to be major resistance every time the price gets closer to it until proven otherwise. Let's go to the 4-hour on our EMAs. And again, we're seeing what's continuous and being resistance. Our EMAs, 26s and our 12s. Nothing good here. We have some more bearish cross several candles ago, that basically pushed a lot of this. All these EMAs are going through our 200 now, just adding downward bearish momentum on the price of Bitcoin. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to check in the chat room, see what's going on, see what I've missed. Hello, everybody. All right, let's see what we got here. Who haven't I said hello to? Hello, Mohammed. Hello, Steven. Hello, Paul. What's up, buddy? Hello, Justin. Hello, Manny. Svakstad. Hello, Jonathan. What's up, buddy? B7 Oaks. Ali. Hello, Bill. Hello, Crypto Neutral. Crypto Omelet. What's up, buddy? Crypto Natural. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me this evening on this Friday, wherever you may be in the world. Talking Bitcoin here. Talking some very bearish Bitcoin here. Okay, 4-hour. We had a little wick here, but now we're just going back under it here. We're failed to hold where we closed the last previous 4-hour. Remember, we're only an hour into our first hour of our new daily candle. Let's do a daily candle. Where are we here? Analysis. Okay, so yeah, we did close with a bearish engulfing. Okay, we had a little wick on the bottom. So basically, some of this was bought up. We bottomed at, wow, we broke 6,000 on Bitstamp. Wow, 59.95.75. Yikes. People, there's nothing holding this up at 6,000 right now. There's nothing. There's nothing here. So I'm going to hide our MAs and we're going to do some fibbing. I'm not telling lies. I'm telling the laws of nature here. Let's play around with some Fibonacci's, okay? So let's kind of see where we've been and then kind of where we're going here, okay? So this was our really nice bull run of our July, okay? This was our one. We basically see a ratio extension of our wave one, if you will, to our last wave here. And we got all the way up to a 223% of our wave that went from 5,700 all the way up to about 6,800. So about $1,000 there. We went 2,000 and change there. So that was a really nice move, and we got firmly rejected with these two candlesticks here. And then kind of flowing down here, we found a little support back testing our 78.6. We found a little support at our 55. We hit that on the nose, okay? And now we've basically, because we've broken this wave here, then all of this basically becomes mute because we have failed to put in a higher low from this bullish wave extension, and all we have left is this little guy here. So how much retracement kind of do we have left? And you see that our 78 failed to hold, and we're literally giving up 88% right now, literally on the nose. Um, that also corresponds with this area here of price support when we dipped. Okay, so we are going to find some support here, as well as this candle here and this cluster of price action. So initially, that's kind of why we have stopped here and paused. There is history here. I bet you there's a little money here. Let's see. Yeah, there's a little money really from in this area here. Let me get a little tighter here. We'll see how much money is here. Right around 64. Yeah, 64 more really actually. But as we zoom out, we see kind of where the money is, okay? But when we get deeper out, okay, actually, I want to go back to this one here. Right here, okay. Right here. Right here. All right, so I'm clearing my fib for a second. VPVR, okay? Um, volume price volatility ratio. We're seeing where the money is based on where the price is, where most of the money is. This shows us where there are gaps in price history, where not a lot of people took a lot of entries or exits at certain areas. We see a gap here of low money flow, okay, between 13K and 12K, okay. We've been in this stuck in this very high area of money flow because we've been in this range of 6,300 to 8,300, about 10,000 if you, yeah, 8,500 or so, especially clustered in these bars here. You see where we are now, and you see what's left of this bar brings us down to roughly 55 and change. That brings us here, and that basically corresponds with this cluster of price history we had a year ago, October, okay? Where for the entire month, we basically ranged in this tight 57 to 57. We basically kind of started the month more or less, well, we started the month very bullish. And then the latter half of the month, we basically stayed very tight here. A lot of money poured into Bitcoin right here. We had our back test, and it held. So there's strong money support historically down to 55. Then we have a gap, and we can clearly see that here. There was not a lot of money. There was not a lot of time between 5,500 and 5,000. That's all because of this candle right here. That Um, once we broke, wait, hold on, I'm mistaken here. Yeah, right here. It was like this area here. When we broke, yeah, right here. When we broke 5,000, which was right here, okay, we shot up to about 5,800. So we went up $800 really quickly. We had a 1 day pullback to 5,100, and we closed with pretty much a bull, almost a bull hammer there. Almost a bull hammer. Almost a hanging man, but it really just had a little wick there, so more likely a very nice bottom hammer there. Hold support, kept going here. The reason I bring this up is because if we fail to hold, come on, if we fail to hold this area here and we go down to 5,500 is the next area of support. If we break 5,500, it's a quick shoot to literally 5,000, potentially as low as $4,700. Okay, so from here we have literally about $500 left of historical support and some chop that can keep this holding up. But once we start breaking through 57, 56, we could really get to 5,000 or a little bit lower very fast. With 2 days left in this week, I'd be surprised if it happens this week. I think this candle on the weekly is bearish enough. I think something like this would be really oversold. I think a smaller or equal comparison candle to our previous week is more reasonable. We already have a little wick here. Okay, we could have 2 more days, Saturday and Sunday. Okay, of just some sideways trying to defend 6,000, trying to defend 6,000, 59 and change, something breaking there. You know, what could really make this a difference here? What could really just other than some bullish news, some random ETF news over the week? I mean, there's something that could possibly happen that could give this some sort of a bullish push kind of out of nowhere, because right now everything is suggesting super bearishness. Well, let's look at our longs and shorts. Let's start with the longs, all right? Now, they've been weak for a while, okay? They knew the top at 8,500 was a good way to get out. Okay, a lot of contracts were basically, I'm done. Made some nice little money on this pop. Boy, did they liquidate. Boy, did they liquidate. They knew something. They knew that was it. It's kind of a false bounce here. Liquidated. The longs are weak, okay? The longs are weak, and they're pointing to another test of this bottom support here, which held here, which held here, okay? And what's scary is if we break this, which has held since May, people, okay? This axis has held since May. We can retest real bearishness in terms of how our long contracts are basically taken, and that's all based on lower price points with Bitcoin. It's going to happen. Now, let's look at our shorts here. Let's look at our shorts. Okay, now our shorts are rising. Our shorts are rising. A hot chick or a hot dude, if you're into that, walk by and the shorts rose. And what we have here is something that I look at kind of two ways. Obviously, this is a massive move. Okay, if this were a stock or a coin, obviously, that had 1, 2, 3, 4, a little dip, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome green candles. What's the TD on this right now? 7. We're only on a green 7. Wow, so we potentially have 2 more on the day here. That's interesting. Okay, so I would think this is crazy bullish. I think this is overbought, right? The problem is I think we were actually too oversold. I think the shorts were too scared through most of July. They just got wrecked, right? Wrecked. Every time wrecked, they tried to load up in July, because July was a very bullish month for Bitcoin. It was. And some alts. And now I feel they're compensating. They're compensating for being too oversold. So even though this move feels epic and pretty big, which it is, it's still, I feel, could go higher. Now, how much higher? Remember, back months ago, I was talking about our big gap in price I feel we have, which we do have. I don't feel we have. We do have it. When we had our short squeeze, let me hide my TDs for a second. And no, it was the 4-hour. There it is right there. Bam. This guy right here, where we had a tremendous dip in price so fast that there was a gap. a gap in the price action where at one literally moment in time the contract was worth X, and then the next moment it was worth Y. And charts historically more or less like to fill gaps, not always, but most of the time. And this is a big one here. This is a really big one here. If it was a little one, I could let it go. This is a pretty big one here. And look how close we're getting now. Look how far we were from it, and now look how close we're getting here. Now we're hitting an area right here, getting very close to an area of historic support, resistance, or at least pause time. Right? Right here. Little price action here, but clearly it got stopped out there. And look how close we are. Look how close we are. We're so close. Now from our indicator standpoint, and I'm going to go to a higher time frame here. Okay. Now this is our RSI. Now we see where we are. Okay. Very frothy, but we see where we had been. Very frothy. So even though 73 is very high, 83, 81, okay, was like Hindu Kush high, all right, really high. Okay. Gorilla Glue high, okay. We're not there yet, okay. We're still like, not there yet. Maybe GSC indica here, okay, but this is like your high test sour diesel here, okay. But that doesn't mean that eventually we can get back up here and really push it. Now, what does that mean? That means bearishness for Bitcoin. That means the higher this goes, this is downward pressure here. Now, how can this be bullish for Bitcoin eventually? And that's if they get too cocky. That's if the shorts really start running up here, especially if we get to an area where we fill our gap, which you can see on our 4-hour at this where did we go here? There we go. At this price level, we get to 37,000. Remember, we're only at 30,000. We're right at 30,000. Okay, so we still have a ways to go here. Okay, but that's interesting. I want to keep an eye on that. We're not there yet. This is very overbought, but not really overbought because I feel we were very oversold, which means I think Bitcoin can still go down. Okay, a little bit more. Find some support, have a little bouncy area, maybe just to kind of cool this off a bit, and then potentially it goes for its next push. Until I see bullishness in the longs, which we're just not seeing, okay, the shorts can continue to load without being crazy oversold. Maybe they're banking on 5,000 on this move. Maybe they're banking on 5,800 and they're going to start to liquidate. Only the price action will actually dictate that. I want to bring up where is it? There it is. Bitcoin futures. We're closed for the week. Okay, we closed 61.65. I don't think we open till like Sunday night. Okay, so it's going to be interesting. We're going to create another gap in the price. Now, I have been watching this gap down here as there it is. As our last gap here, we've yet to fill. Open gap in price right here. Okay, somewhere between 5,900 and 6,000. If we fill this, it could be bullish because that would basically complete this gap here. We do have some upper gaps here that are still open, okay, at 7,000. That's encouraging. And there's another one here at 6,800 to 6,800, about $50 there. That happened when we opened up earlier in the week. So if this bottom gap fills, I'd feel more comfortable thinking that we're going to go back up to basically fill this upper gap that has now opened and still there at around 7,200. And if we actually got up there, I'd actually become bearish again because now that gap is filled. We can roll over. But we're not going to know any more about gaps until probably Sunday night when the futures open up and then they really start trading on Monday morning there. You can see how our stochastics has kind of reset and just how bearish our RSI on this is as well. Also signaling it can go much lower. Okay, this is actually a little more bullish because it closed a hair higher than where we are currently right now. Whew. All right, guys, 40 minutes. Let's just do a little recap of Bitcoin. Let's get which chart should we look at? You know, I haven't done a fib yet. Extension down. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so this is our top. This was our first wave one. This is our two. I guess this is tricky because I mean this is probably four here, and we're kind of rolling into our five. If that's our four, and we really had an extended three, this was very long compared to only how long one was. So five will probably be a little smaller, but 161's at 5400. Yeah, I mean there is support. I would say 5400 would be a reasonable place. 5700 is definitely an area here. I wouldn't think our fifth wave would be longer than our third here, so I'd be targeting just our really the fib ranges we like. So the 123, and then maybe basically another area here between 55. Remember, I talked about earlier that 5500 range was our last area of support in terms of money flow, and that does kind of correspond with a golden pocket here of a extended one to one. So that is kind of where I feel if we really break bearish, we'll find support there, and then we'll really find support somewhere in this area. That's why I'm feeling we're not going to just crash from 57 all the way to 51. I feel there is decent support in the 54.50 to 55.50 area, just based on how I feel this wave is playing out right now. Quick jump back into the chat room here. Let's see what's going on. Hello, Prince. Hey, Ryan. Crypto Omelet. Anybody new? No? Okay, so let's read some of your posts here. Take a peek. Quick and simple. King of back for a ball. That's a good question, Bill Park. Do you think Litecoin can drop to $10? So let's. That's a great question. Let's do some Litecoin because this is brutal, people. Litecoin $58. When we had 100, like not that long ago. Oh my god, I can't believe Litecoin's at $58. I just can't. But I can. I can believe. I can. I totally can, and I kind of knew it because of this parabolic move. These always unwind, whether it's a stock or a crypto. This is an insane move, especially this last fifth wave here. Insane. We're in wind now. We're finding support here at 58 because of our price history here. Let's see where the money is. Let's see where the money is. Yeah, look at all our money. Our money's down here. And I put this tweet out a couple of weeks ago. I almost feel it's like from 50, yeah, from 60 to 48, really. And then there's a lot of money really cheap, like $10 here. So yeah, I think there's support somewhere between getting closer now and down to $30. Like there could be another 40% dip in Litecoin. But your question about $10 is not that crazy. Remember, well, Litecoin was $4. It was $4 or $5. It was pennies. It was under $1. Okay, a year ago. Okay, like a little over a year ago, 15 months ago, we could have bought Litecoin for under $10, and then it went to $400. And now it's at $58, and all the money was basically between $14 and kind of $50. Okay, my first entry on Litecoin was like it's like right here, I think, like 27, $26. I remember that very clearly. And I bought some more in the 50s. My last purchase was right here during Thanksgiving, right there, about $74. And then I was selling here, I was selling some here, and I was selling some here because this was a parabolic move that once it broke was going to unwind. And remember, Litecoin is an alt, no matter if it's on Coinbase or Gemini, it's an alt. It's just like the other S coins, unfortunately, and it has failed on many of the big projects, LightPay, a couple other Charlie Lee things that failed to materialize along the year, and that's why it's very bearish right now. And yes, it could go lower. We're seeing the failure of our 1 to 1, our 1% ratio to hold. Okay, And literally our next support from a ratio. Oh, this is interesting. It's about ratio. Okay, there's history and a lot of price action between a 0.008 and a 0.009, which basically means if we get down here from a ratio standpoint to Bitcoin, we would actually see some price stability in Litecoin, which means Bitcoin 5,000 could mean Litecoin $40, or $45, but the rate of decline in Litecoin would be slowing based on where I'm seeing most of the money in the LTC BTC ratio. We're getting pretty close there. Not a lot of money down here. Most of the money was here. So that's kind of interesting. That shows there is support in the nearer future for Litecoin from a ratio standpoint. Doesn't mean that the USD price can't fall more. It probably will. But even though our USD support here is in $44 to $37, that would correspond with it also holding support from a ratio standpoint of Bitcoin in this area as well. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I've had a long day. Um, Bitcoin is really scary right now. It's as bearish as we have seen it in this year of 2018. Okay, this rejection from it wasn't even bearish ETF approval. It was just like we're kind of postpone our ETF till later in the year. But that does set the table for November and December. Okay, for some major events happening in this time frame that could be very bullish for Bitcoin. Okay, this is a long-term game. Okay, Bitcoin is not going to turn bullish overnight. This downtrend is not going to turn over overnight. Okay, until we stop seeing this resistance. Let's get to a cleaner chart. Until we stop seeing this resistance line basically hold. Okay, we've held a bottom here more or less, but we're in this descending triangle, and our apex brings us to roughly October. No, it's not true. It goes lower, but I don't think it's going to be tight. I don't think it'll be this tight. This is going to fail eventually. We might get one more little mountain here to retest this resistance line. Okay, and that could happen sometime in October. That could bring us to 7,000. That could fill our gap. Remember our gap on our futures. Okay, but that only can come with some sort of a bottoming event here. We haven't had a V bottom in a while. We had our fulcrum bottom. We had our inverse head and shoulder bottom. We haven't had a V bottom in a while here. So let's see if we can get something like that, which would be a very nasty dump of capitulation, but could induce a very nice bounce and a little test again of this line, which makes so much stronger support. What's after we hold this? Historically support, I'm going to make this white. That's too red. Okay. Top off here at 48.99. We fell, but we held support here at 3,000. Okay, which was a very strong resistance, bearish bull break, right? Back test support. 3 grand is actually very strong. It's actually a little stronger than 5,000. And actually, I see it a lot stronger than 6,000. So 5,000 is probably our next target. Hold on, I'll repeat that. 5,500, I feel. There's some chop there. 55, 54, okay? There is history there. We were there back in October. We back tested it back in November, okay? 55.60 is an important area. And if we test it, I do expect there to be some price support. But that wasn't very long. And if that doesn't hold, then literally 5,000, a hair under it, maybe 4,700. Okay? But we could be range bound below here for some time. And a lot of that has to do with how low our RSI is and if we can continue to stay below 50. Until then, I'll try and be more active this weekend. I had a busy week of training, but I definitely want to put out some more content this weekend. If you guys are also interested in my mentoring classes, please feel free to DM me. I still have a few open spots for next week, and then I'll be scheduling the third week in August after that. And you guys can follow me on Twitter at Big Chonis. If you liked our time together this evening, please give me a thumbs up. Tell your friends, give me a follow. We'll talk to you soon. Be safe out there. We could find some support at 5,800 if we do break it. Any bounces seem to be getting sold into. Don't be stupid. Keep it tight, okay? Alts are going to continue to fall and to bleed as long as Bitcoin bleed, even if the charts look good, even if there's some bullish divergence, okay? Until Bitcoin can find some stabilization and some bullish tendencies, the alts are very risky and dangerous. On that note, happy Friday. Be safe tonight. Have a beer on me. We'll talk to you guys soon.